Good to see you. Thanks very much. Yeah, I would like, some of you might know that I sometimes go into a very algebraic, very technical things. I think in 2023 or 2022 I published a paper on archive, making every architecture into a category. Look up category theory in mathematics. It's very abstract. I love to see an abstract talk. It's even more, my paper is even more abstract than the conceptual model, homomorphisms, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that you are going to present that level of details. Nevertheless, I really love to see a data space specification language. Maybe we put it into the Gaia-X Trust Framework 3.0 there. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Joaquín Salvachúa. I'm a professor from the Technical University of Madrid. In the telecommunication school, I come from a lot of ages where we are in protocol validation and verification, and we did very good numbers of formal methods and formal specification for things. But here we are going to present is part of the work that we are being carrying out in order to solve some of the problems that we are having. As Andres presented before, we are inside on developing this with the support of the Spanish Cybersecurity Institute, where we are trying to study the different components and the different things we need to assure data trust, and the things that have been already presented now. They probably will to review the things that have been presented in order to adapt to all of this. So we are different professors. Me, myself, Andres, and Gabriel Huecas, that we are also, with his PhD thesis, we are in automatic generation of tests for conformance and all these kind of things. So let's say that we come from this background. Our idea, well, this is our research group. Our project try to have this as a guide, that is that everything is properly done and all these kind of things. And we have different components that we are defining. Some of them is going to be presented now, and on the others probably you will hear in the future. But the problem that we want to solve here is interoperability. We start to work and start to see what people is implementing as data spaces. Well, you start to talk with them, and not almost all people, what they tell you is exactly the same. They do what you may say is same, but different. So sometimes they start doing some kind of identification. Some follow the rules of Gaia-X, others follow all the rules. The catalog, you open a big issue, do some things, other to others. Then you have to transfer, to agree on things. And how you manage to interoperate or make everyone interoperable on none of this. I am old enough, and I am from the pre-web internet. Do you remember how Tim Berners-Lee solved this? He invented the URN. The URN is the what is called the URL, where you put protocol and something. This means that suddenly all the web that were not web, you can just connect it via some interface where you just put the name of the protocol and some interaction. This means that Gophers, FTP, and all of the protocols were joined just by having a common interface where you can specify these things. Then why not invent a language where you can specify all these strange things that people are doing in data spaces? Let's call it data spaces. I won't enter in if they are building data spaces or are building something different. The key idea is they are building whatever they want. Fine. We will try to connect to them. Fine. So how can we manage in this scenario to do something? We need a language where we specify whatever they are doing and try to have some kind of software with the components that we are implementing in our projects in order to be compatible and make everyone interoperate. Remember that the idea is not to have a data spaces. A data spaces is useless. It's the same like a web server. A web server by itself is useless. What is the power of the web? You have a lot of webs that are interconnected. We want a lot of data spaces to be interconnected. I don't matter the technology. What I want is that everyone connects to everyone's, and the power of the full network is the one that is going to give me the huge value that we are seeking here. So we need something that helps us to go on this direction. We have been thinking on this, I don't know if it's the right solution, we will see, but it's a kind of way to start working in this kind of direction. So interoperability is the thing that we want to solve. We will accept anything that anyone claims that is a data space as a data space, and we will try to interoperate with this and have some kind of metric in order to see if this is a proper data space or not. I won't enter in this discussion in all these things. So, what is a data space? I won't enter in this. And in some of the organization groups, and they have hours and hours, and they still haven't agreed on this. To me, it's anything. I won't say if you have this and this is a data space, or if you don't have this, not. Well, for me, trust is the important part. Trust in all the process. And let's say if data spaces you have data and some trust, okay, I accept trust as I accept this as a data space. We are very open on this. Are they different data spaces? Yes, yes, they are completely different, and it's reality. I cannot go there and convince them to do it the way that I believe that it should be done. I have my own ideas, but I cannot force anyone to do any kind of this. May they operate easily? Well, I'm not going to say that the path that we are going to walk is easy, but at least we are trying to walk this path. Otherwise, we will have, instead of a huge network of data spaces, we have islands interconnected between them. Also, if you remember the internet before the IP protocol, where like this, there were the IBM protocol, there were islands that were interconnected, and there were routers between them. Bah, this was a nightmare. Once you have IP and connect everything, all the networks interconnect. Here, what I want to have is something that helps on this way. So, how can we try to specify what is a data space, how it is implemented on this? So we are starting to work on this language. It's a work in progress. I don't have a full solution, but we are working on this, and this is what I want to share with you today. So, first, there is some concept of workflow. I don't want to use the word workflow, but really some kind of workflow, because you have steps, and you go through some kind of step. This is one of them. I'm not claiming that this is the canonical way of a data spaces, but it's what someone may call a data spaces. This means that we may want to define the shadow to be there, how is the data, how is the metadata, whatever. I define this. So I will need to define this block. I will use this technology. We will need some kind of taxonomy for all of these steps. What are the conditions in which the data may be shared? In this case, here we are working with ODRL. So whenever is expected here will be translated into something that will be used in the ODRL. We publish in some catalog. The catalogs will need also interoperability, but I won't enter in this. I don't want to have a catalog definition language, so for now we will have another seat. We will see the rights about access, usage, and release of data that the people want to have. We go to authentication and all the process that you have seen, data access control, transmission if it's batch, if streaming is more complex, because you have to have something permanent for all the life cycle that we have there, data usage control, and post data. Suppose that this is something that more or less agree, so I need a language to specify these steps and to say what are going to have in each of them in order to have all of this. So, as we have workflow, the usual things in big data, if you use Airflow or whatever, Kubeflow or whatever the solutions, you have the DAG. The DAG is a distributed acyclic graph. Basically, it's to be easy to navigate it. You don't make loops. The problem with a graph is that you may have loops and you have to know when to stop. If you don't have loops, then you don't have this problem. I see it's easy to make the execution of this. Probably most of the data spaces will be a linear one, but well, we can have a tree or whatever. Well, then we can reuse some of the things that we are having in the big data world. Probably, but here we want to have it a little high level. So, we are thinking on the different tools and the different things that we are already implementing. Myself and Andres are professors also for big data, and we are teaching all these kind of tools. Or even there is something in the past that was the BMP, the BPM, I think I sweep this is, that was a business process management where some specification for some workflows that are there. This is very boring and I don't want to enter in this. Well, I don't want to get Sarah Connor angry, but here we will use how to use AI for this. What is now on fashion on AI? AI agents. And we are having with the AI agents language or workflow or the steps that the AI are going to have. So our idea right now will be, okay, we take all of these ideas, we will go to have the workflow very similar to the one that we are having right now for data solutions for big data, where we specify all the life cycle with different tools and is able to start in Kubernetes or whatever platform, all the tools, something, but we will relate it to the AI for something. So we are going to use the AI domain definition language. This is a language right now on definition just for agents. This is our idea right now. I don't know if we will change to another language, but this is right now. This is now being used in order that the different AI agents can tell what they are going to do, and they are going to do different steps. It is textual, it's based somehow in Lisp, so it's some kind of Lisp. I like this, but not too much. By the way, we still teach Lisp in order, we have to teach Spark Scala, so we teach Scala, and in order for people to work in functional, we first test Lisp on paper, and then we move to Scala. That's why we are very happy to have these kind of constructions, because basis Lisp has very few lines and could be mathematically transformed in lambda expressions that could be used for formal verification and validation. So here what we will have is something that defines different problems, data, and the connection between the different models, AI models. So we are going to reuse these kind of things in order to have this kind of thing. So here will allow the integration not only of data spaces, but also of agents. And means that probably we can generate part of this definition for the data spaces using LLMs. As are things that they are common and they are very comfortable, there is a lot of tools, we are going to reuse this and mix both things. It has a very agnostic workflow model, so let's see that is something that we hope that we can reuse to define all these detailed experience. But the serialization, we don't like too much the Lisp part. So as we are working a lot on ODRL, we will use the ODRL, but not the vocabulary. I mean just the way. I don't know if you are aware of ODRL. ODRL means something about media because comes from, I don't know, operating digital rights. Yeah, thank you very much. It means that was intended for playing movies and songs long ago. It has a vocabulary for this, but we are using another vocabulary. But let's say how the way is handled that allows trust, permission rules. We can reuse this part in order we specify this, but compatible with the other languages. This will be somehow the low language that we want to serialize. As long as we are building a lot of ODRL tools, because we are very deep into policies and other things, we are working on this, and we are working in the WCC group. So there is a change right now that is the 3.0 semantics that is being discussed there, and we will try to see if we need something extra to all of this. It's a bit strange, and the group is not liking very much because are not policies, are behavior, but well, let's see if we convince them in order to have this solution. So once you have all these things, as I mentioned, you have different data spaces. And you have different concepts of trust. So the idea is to have some kind of a score that tells you, okay, this is a data space, but it's not a very good one. You can improve by doing this, or that. As we are connecting this with LLMs, we can try to help them this. So the score that we are thinking is to have some kind of one of the diagrams with different lines or different things where we can have this kind of points. This means that something that really is not a data space, but you are convinced that it's a data space, will be a data space with 0 points. So you are happy because you have the label of data space, but you know in the truth that you don't have a real data space because you have 0 points in everything. But well, you are happy, and we can continue and work on this. And we can see what are the things that you can try to improve in your data space by adding components or adding other things, and you can try to work from there. So we are now in the process of defining this kind of thing. Could be the legal acts, the data quality acts, the business acts, or the international regulation act. Depends on how you are improving on things. So the language also allows you to give you this kind of score. This score can help people to evolve from different things. But remember that the goal is that we try also use the language in order that the different tools that we are having and we are producing are able to make someone that, for example, have a very low quality raw data with someone that have everything clear, well, at least they can interoperate. The results, I won't come say that is very good. If one is data that is not really clean, or the other is very clean. If you try to train anything with this, well, the result, you know, garbage in, garbage out. But, well, if you are happy on this, we will provide this an evolution on all these kind of things. So, we are trying to define a domain-specific language in order to clarify and help both with the score and with the data space interoperability. We'll have taxonomy of the different steps. This will clarify what you are doing and may also help people there to interact and help on this. We are going to be define a workflow. Even we expect that most of them will be linear one. I mean that will be not a very complex graph. We are connecting this also with the AEA and the LLMs agents things. In fact, we are having also the MCP protocol implemented in order that it's easy to connect to the different LLMs. And you can specify and identify what are the aspects that you can improve to have better score in your data space. By the way, we are studying also the trusted data matrix, that is the China version of data spaces, that they have a different, also defining some kind of workflow. And we are trying to see how we can align in order to have a single definition all over the world on this. So this is a work in progress, and we want to present it. And in case you have any questions, we are open for this. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Are there any questions regarding AI, DDL, and the ODRL and workflows? Oh, please. Yep.
I will enter this. I mean, to me, the data flows, but the semantics for the data, this is too complex. By the way, I'm not from the ontology group, so I prefer, I must say that someone provides other solution for this. They will provide a pipe where the data flows correctly, and if you have metadata with flow with it, governance metadata with flow, but this is your problem. I'm not solving this. You know what I mean? It's too complex. I don't see a single solution. Even we come from the freeware world. We believe that the small data models is a solution because it's not a real ontology well, but something that have worked very well in the entire world. So for us, the data, this solution is good enough for this kind of things. And I won't enter in any kind of specification. I remember some time ago we are. 20 years ago, something like that, we were in a project of the smart web. You remember this thing from Tim Berners-Lee, and remember that the project we are 3 years trying to define a language that define the data and the schema. And in the very last meeting, they one say, well, there is not clear definition of how we define things. We should start again. Come on, 3 years later. So let's say that I don't think that there is a solution for this. But the smart data models for me is enough.
There is an approach actually, and we might look into that also from a Gaia-X perspective, maybe on a larger time horizon. You know all LLMs, large language modules, which are based on translating from one imprecise human language into another imprecise human language. This is why they work perfectly, because the meaning of the words is kind of, it's a broader range which you can have for the terms. So this is why they work very excellently for human languages which are imprecise. Some LLMs have been fine-tuned to generate API calls, and API calls, as you all know, they are unforgiving. If you have the wrong data type, an int and an unsigned int is different. So one of the ideas, maybe you can build on that and use generative AI models specifically trained. Maybe the GPT model is not, so we might kind of look into that, because that will become a problem. Once we solve the trust problem, then the problem number 2, namely the interoperability of the data itself, will become problem number 1, and everyone will come, hopefully also to maybe Gaia-X. Yeah.
Another colleague of mine will use the solution. It will be in the Fireware Summit, and they have already do this for NGSILD. You make NGSILD from, this is the language that is used in Fireware, and the query is made in natural language, and he transforming via LLM into the proper language. So it's intended for people that don't know how to query this language. But here we are again in the data, in this subdomain of things. But it's in management, and if you want, I can give you the paper, and the presentation will be in 2 weeks. Yes, yes, I know. Yes. Yes, not a currency, but could be useful for this. That's what we triggered, and that what made the change in order in usual to get closer to the language that is used by the agent. So there we can use all these kind of things, and probably more that will appear in the next month. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.